All right, brother, hold up. It's the man of knowledge coming at your way. Check it in. Check it out. Peace. So we're going to get through letting these two frozen fish sticks talk. Let's get to it.
53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%.
And that is what fake ass, confused, liberal, pro-blacks refuse to acknowledge.
It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he
AKA liberal people
got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone. And you...
Let's skip on over to that.
Practice and or the black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs.
Allegedly. Shout out to Chronicles of Judah. Man, fuck all that. Look, people die every day, man. Shut the fuck up. Motherfucker sit up there and spit on the ground. Puh, he got COVID.
And flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support? It means, let me, if I might finish the question.
I think I know what it means, but I'll let him talk.
What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face.
That means AKA another word and saying, hell yeah, I support it. Why? Because I'm liberal and I'm trying to get them liberal Negroes, confused Negroes that don't know what they talking about out there who protesting and marching on my side. And all I'm trying to do is pimp their ass out. And while Trump pimping their ass out the legal way, I'm a trick and pimp their ass out the illegal way. That's once again, that's Biden's job. Trump's job is to say what liberal people don't want to hear. Biden's job is to say and do what liberal people want to hear and see.
And I'm totally opposed to this.
Until his time to putting on these fake ass facades. For the time for him to let you know he's a say to be up.
Funding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police. The only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance.
Well, damn, you pocket watching, ain't you?
They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about. He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about, if you ask me.
He doesn't have any law support. He has no law enforcement.
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
Look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you.
Liberal people.
Go ahead. Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do anything except
Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported you.
Gentlemen, I think I'm going to take back the moderator's role, and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree, you talk about peaceful protests, many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President...
You know why? Because those people are thinking with their emotions.
You say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is, as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this? bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you'd stop the days and months of violence in Portland.
Of course he hasn't.
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, the leader, excuse me, sir, you have
Trump, just shut your ass up.
never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call and bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here.
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
I sent in the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals
question.
to get the killer of
No,
a young man in the middle of the street, and they shot him. And for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland wouldn't do anything. I had to send in the U.S. Marshals, and they
President
took
Trump,
care of business.
go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his
I'm gonna tell you, Trump don't give a damn, man. he gonna say what he gotta say, man. I don't care if you like him or not, which I know most of y'all don't. I don't care about for Trump nor Biden. I'm just saying. Hey, they both gonna. Oh, Trump. He gonna say what he gotta say.
former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
I don't either.
Who?
I think Kelly
He know he lying.
Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the
No, she didn't say nothing. If she said anything, she was saying probably because you had a dick in her mouth.
here's the point. The point is that that's what he is keeps.
I had to go clean some stuff up and run a couple of errands. Anyway, though.
Trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down.
Well, when you're not liberal, when you're a free thinker, that's what you're supposed to do. It's not because you intend to do it. Usually you just speak the truth, or you just speak what's on your mind from your perspective, and you ain't bowing down to nobody else. That's clearly what you do. You know people that they like to have equality and peace. You know those people are Luciferians. Like Martin Luther King was. Martin Luther King was a people of Bacchus. You know who Bacchus was? Bacchus was the god of love. But that's a whole nother topic in the discussion, the video for another day.
Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly and every single.
Okay, now explain how. I'm not saying Trump is a perfect person, but the motherfucker bright.
Solitary.
Okay, and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly
You
criticized.
have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have repeatedly. No, you've been talking
He
back
made a
and forth.
statement.
Trump ain't gonna shut
I'm
up.
asking you,
I would love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it.
You know, if you want to switch seats,
We can very quickly.
We can do that, but I'm
Said
no,
that the National Guard it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But aren't
Antifa is in the left-wing extremist group.
you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and
And let me say something. Once again, stop saying white supremacy. Stop saying that word. It's not white supremacy. It's called rulership. Because when you're saying white supremacy, when you say that verbally, as a so-called black person or as a so-called minority, and once again, stop saying minority too. Stop calling yourself a minority. That's why I said so-called. Anyway, when you call these guys white supremacists and he's a part of he loves his white supremacy and white privilege. When you say that word, white supremacy particularly, you're just agreeing that person is supreme to you. He's above you. He's a part of the hierarchy. Like I say, black people don't have to be the bottom of the pit. You don't have to be. It's all your mindset.
militia groups, and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it? Well,
I
go
would
ahead, sir.
say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right
So
wing.
what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Trump lying. He don't want to see no peace.
You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI direct.
Facts.
This is a left-wing.
And he still throwing up that pan sign while he talking all that noise.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia.
Oh, come on now. I agree with that. Trump. That nigga crazy.
That's what his
Tonight, yeah.
FBI, his
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
No, we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
That hits you over the head. That's not an idea.
Everybody in your
Antifa is bad.
administration tells you
That don't even make no sense. What Biden just said.
truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you gotta be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll
The government itself is a dangerous radical organization. How about that?
overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent in this segment? President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax.
Look, I already knew he was gonna say that. I don't even know how you gonna argue that. You could try, but whatever, man. I don't really pay attention to what Trump be doing, not to a certain extent, unless I do my research. All right, and give me 1 more minute.
Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the
He's still throwing that pan sign.
first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. He was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a
Still throwing up that pan sign, and he say three times.
record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you
AKA liberal.
left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges, it's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to eat
Oh shit. Oh shit.
bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got paid $1 million.
Putin. Who is he talking about? Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is Russia's president. And also, let me say this: Putin worked with KGB. KGB stands for Comedic Gondavari Bindozapari, some shit like that. You cats can go look that up. I ain't gonna be sitting there explaining all that, saying that big ass word. But anyhow.
And by the way, my son.
Wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it.
But I think I also had that right, and that's my dog acting crazy if you hear.
And why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can you
No,
add back,
I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may have.
That was a rhetorical question, meaning you didn't really have to answer it.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You and the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there was 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my
But we always have been, and we always will be, because that's how this country once again was bred up.
son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers.
And motherfucker sound like a car that won't start.
My son.
Hey, I also got that from Chronicles of Judah too, where he was clowning on Stephen A. Smith ass. But I was just waiting on that motherfucker to talk about because Biden. Hey, Biden can't talk, bro.
Was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people.
A patriot. What is a patriot? A patriot means someone that loves their country, particularly America. Typically America. Somebody who loves America. Typically.
Left behind there were heroes, and I resent.
Are you a hero? You ain't no hero. You's a bitch.
Hunter, are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're
I
talking
don't know.
about
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter. Hunter got
So Bob Biden is the mayor of Moscow.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
For
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use, and he didn't resign.
Hey, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm letting him keep
Once
going.
you became vice president, and once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He,
I know he made a fortune off of China for a damn fact. Shit. But America, for the most part, has been making a fortune off of a lot of people, though. You see what I'm saying?
made a
Son,
fortune.
my son.
And people use America, and people from other countries use America like it's a hoe, because America is a hoe. Use it for what it's good for. But especially though, when it comes to the so-called black man, he the only one out here sipping for this motherfucker. Why? I have no idea. Artistically, that's a part of programming.
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people you know at home, had a drug problem. He's
Why he had a drug problem? It's because you had a drug problem?
overtaken it. He's
Because you look like it.
fixed it. He's worked on it. And I'm
You're talking about Obamacare. Now that's for health concerns for the most part, right? Now look, I'm gonna tell you about Biden. Biden barely got teeth in his mouth and half a brain. So of course he wouldn't be worrying about health problems.
proud of him.
But why was he
Proud of
giving
my
tens
son.
of millions
But he
of
wasn't giving tens of millions of dollars. That is totally, that's been totally
President Trump,
discredited.
you've already been
Totally discredited.
we've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
It's $3.5 million
right.
from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of Moscow.
That
talk
is
about
not
it.
true.
Gentlemen,
That report is totally
Once again, the mayor of Moscow is survived Biden.
credited.
I
Mitt Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money. That report was written for political reasons.
I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people.
All the same amount of now the amount of acres and land on that land. That's the amount of money the motherfuckers could be accumulating. You understand?
When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. We're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting.
believe that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was clean, if you had forest management, good.
He's still throwing up that pan sign, look. Trump making a little bit of valid points. All right.
Forest management.
I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not damn sure not a Trump fan. I'm damn sure not a Biden fan.
Wouldn't be getting those calls.
And that's correct. Keep your shit clean, man.
In Europe, they live their forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, at some point,
Why is that?
you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
Exactly. That's money wasted. That's money. That's potential earnings that could go in your pocket, man.
That's burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you
Facts.
believe in the science
This proves why Trump is a smart businessman.
of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference.
Study throwing them pan signs up while you talking about some tiny dollar.
And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the state of California, they simply
No, but it
ignore
would take a lot of
your
cars off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And, and I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas.
Why you cussing so much, Biden?
And oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another.
They got the money for it. They will.
Coal-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy. Number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build a economy.
You shouldn't be trying to build no highways in the future. Build some now. Well, of course, we gotta wait for this, but allegedly, ostensibly, for the most part. Man, that's pretty much on that, man. Cause I'm tired of looking at these niggas, man. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Holla back at me. Man of Knowledge checking out. Peace.